Hey guys, AJ here, and today we got something really cool. This is a vehicle that I really didn't know this one existed, and I came across it at the hobby store, and I couldn't pass it up. Check this out. The Cen Racing Reeper. It's 7th scale. It's huge. I hear it's as big as the Xmaxx, so we're going to get this thing out of the box and check it out. Let's not waste any time. Let's do this. There it is. What do you think of that? That's cool, isn't it? I can't wait till Rob gets here. We're going to show him what's up. All right. Okay. See what we got here for these. Gotta get into this.
Go ahead, are you down there, man?
Rob?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, come on down, man. You're gonna dig this.
Oh boy, look at this.
Yeah, come get your hands on that. This is a Cen Racing Reaper. It's 7th scale, and it's just about as big as the Xmaxx.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that cool? I love the body scheme. I love everything about this thing. It's outstanding.
It's big. It's bigger than I thought.
It's big, yeah. I mean, look how tall. They're almost
yeah.
as big as my hand. That's big. Okay, so what we need to do here is go through, hey guys, what we got to do here is go through what came in the box first, and then we'll get into the car. So Rob, will you set this aside for me?
You got it.
Okay guys, first thing up, we've got the radio, and this is a Mod 3 radio. Let's dig her out of the box. There we go. There we go. That's the radio that comes with it. Wow, it looks simple. I mean, look at all, just buttons on the top. There's no controls other than digital buttons. Does have a drop-down wheel though, with rubber on the outside. That feels pretty good. It's kind of small. The trigger feels a little chintzy though. I have to tell you, that doesn't feel too great. The wheel's a lot smaller than I'm used to. We're going to run this as it came today, providing the radio works. And this one might get replaced. So we'll see how it works out. So there's your radio. It's 2.4 gigahertz. You will have to add your own batteries. Pretty simple radio. In the packet, what we have here is your usual complement of equipment. So you've got a tool kit, and since this has 23 millimeter lugs on it, there's a pretty substantial wrench in there. Also, you have XT90 adapters to put on your batteries if yours are different. It comes with a speed controller pamphlet to show you how to operate that. And it comes with a sticker kit and the manual. And I've seen video of the manual. I haven't opened this one up yet. It's pretty cool. It has all of the item numbers that you'll need in there for all the parts and whatnot. And it does show you how the car comes apart. So that's pretty cool. But we're really here to have a look at this. So let's get this torn apart. Rob, will you run the camera for a minute?
You got it.
Awesome. Let's get into this thing. All right, so let's get the body off, guys. All right, look at that. So this has a vertical plate chassis, which is, the last time I had a car with this kind of chassis, I had an Optima, which was a small 10 scale chain drive, 4-wheel drive racing buggy. And I haven't seen one since. This is really cool. have a look at the underside of it. Check this out. So just like true monster truck fashion, the drive lines go down the center with the transfer case in the middle. Very cool. I do all of a sudden have a concern. Right in here, this is the rear end of the car. So there's a spot here for branches and things to get hooked in here. That could be a bit of an issue. Going forward, I don't see that being a problem, but on the back, look at that cavity. You jam a stick in there, it doesn't look like there's really much in there you could break, but that is something, it would be nice to kind of be able to enclose this at some point, but this is the way it's developed. So let's go with it. I can see we have a Hobby Wing speed control. This one here is 150 amps. Hobby Wing makes really good gear. It's got a 1450 motor in it, which should be plenty to power this thing. One thing I did notice right off the bat here is these tie rods are really thick and the drive shafts really beefy all the way around. So the drive shafts are good. The shocks, they seem a little short to me, but depending on where you connect them, they feel a little bit spongy. Also, if you take a look at the drive shafts underneath, you know, they're small here where they connect, but they're big here, which should keep them from bending, which is a good thing. It does have a Savox servo in it. And look at the arm design. The arm design is universal, which means that this arm will fit over here. You flip it over and put it there. So you buy one arm, you can replace any arm on the car. Really well designed. Taking a look at the tires, this is a standard V-rib with a chevron design. It's nice, wide, pretty good size. It feels like decent. It's not super supple, so it should be able to hold up to the horsepower. I don't see any venting on the outside. In fact, I can see holes on the inside of the wheel. So these will definitely need to be taped on the inside and vented on the outside before we take it out. One other curious note here is the battery tray here. Come and get a look at this, Robert. The battery tray here is designed to stack two batteries side by side, but it really doesn't have a lot of protection front or back. It's dependent on them staying in this small shoulder. I do see a slot here and here, so you might be able to run a strap around it. We'll have to see how the batteries fit in there before we can make a determination on that. Okay, so there's another spot here. Take a look at this. These body mounts are really tall. That means they're really flexible. And if you watch, take a look at the shock tower. See how much all that moves? That means this could be a pretty weak point. I don't know what type of plastic this is yet. Maybe it'll hold up, but look at the flex in these. And the issue with that is, as high as the body has to sit and see where the bottom clips are, that's what holds it. There's a lot of flex in that, which means when this thing lands upside down, these could break off. And, you know, it's kind of cold outside. We don't know what that's going to do. Also, it does look like it has good bracing, but when you put the body on it, see how high the body is? See how low the bracing is? This actually does nothing to support the body. So that's another concern. I do like this. It's very good. It helps hold everything in place. This thing does have a fairly small pinion in it from what I understand, and there is one way to tell. Check this out. If you get down inside here, you flip this little lever forward. Okay, there's just a little rocking lever there. Move that back. There's your pinion adjustment, just like that. That is a pretty nice little feature. However, I don't know how well this little cap's going to stay on. So we'll have to wait and see. It looks like about a 12-tooth pinion in there, which means there is room to gear it up. Okay, so that being said, let's go ahead and put this thing back together, and we're going to charge up some batteries. Rob and I are going to take these out and run them, and what I mean by run them is this is about the same size as the Xmaxx. That being said, today, Rob, you're in the Xmaxx. I'm going to run the Reeper. We're going to take them out. We're going to run them side by side, and we're going to see how they compare. This is a much older car, but I think it was developed right around the same time as the first version of that. So it should be a good test. I've heard this is fast. I really wish it had a wheelie bar, but we'll see if it even needs one. So let's take them out and see what they can do. Okay, guys, we're out here at the park again, and today we've got the Reeper out. This is a Cen Racing Reeper, and we've got the Xmaxx. Zach and Robert are with me. We're going to put these things to the test. So this is what's going on. Okay, here we go, first run. Whoa. That thing's got power, dude. Woo. They look pretty close in size. Okay, so we're just gonna race to about there. Okay, just to give it a sample. 3, 2, 1, go. Whoop. It's quick as hell, dude. I don't know if it's, I think it's a little squirrelier than the Xmaxx. Let's try that again. Now we got kind of...
Brakes on the window right off the bat. 3, 2, 1, go.
This thing is squirrely as hell, dude. Oh, yes! Sorry, Zach. Oh, nice save. Okay, so it's way squirrelier than that. Whoa, dude! Yeah!
That was cool.
Oh! Uh-oh. It broke it.
Did it?
Yeah, I ran right into it, broke it. So we're done.
Hey, good news, but that's slow-mo.
Yeah, we got one dose of slow-mo with this one. It broke the steering turnbuckle. Okay guys, there you have it, the Cen Racing Reeper. And you know, this thing is really fun to drive. It's a little off the chain, it's kind of light for its size, and it really gets good air when you pin it. However, being light and with the type of tires that are on it, it's a bit squirrely. I think that could be adjusted, but as it sits straight out of the box, it makes for a really exciting car to play with. Now, of course, it's sitting right next to the Xmaxx, Both of these vehicles are still stock. The only thing changed in the Xmaxx is I put the aluminum outdrives on it because I was breaking those fairly regular. So this does have the aluminum hub carriers on it, but that's the only thing we've changed. As far as size goes, you know, the Xmaxx is just a sliver taller than the Reeper. It is just a shade longer than the Reaper, but it's so close on first inspection you probably wouldn't notice the difference. But there is a fairly good difference in width, and it comes down to just about 2¼ inches. And you would think that would make the Reaper a bit more unstable, comparatively speaking, but it really doesn't feel that way. The car's pretty stable. When you slip and slide it into the corners, it doesn't really want to cartwheel and roll. It's really pretty well grounded. Now, this one weighs in at 15 pounds, and of course the Reaper is the one I'm talking about. 15 pounds out of the box, no batteries. Of course, when you get over to the Xmaxx, now this one's an absolute beast, weighing it at a whopping 20.2 pounds, and I know this for a fact. I weighed them for myself. No batteries in either one. The nice thing about that is, if you're only moving 15 pounds, you really only need 6S to do that and do it effectively. However, when you're up to 20 pounds or so, you're going to need a bit more power, and that's where the 8S comes into play. Now, when we were able to get these out side by side and actually get it rolling, keep in mind, the Xmaxx comes from the factory with a gyro assist in it, and the Reaper does not. So right off the gate, it's a little more squirrely because there's no assistance. However, that's something you can easily overcome or add to the car later. The point is, when we get these things running and we were able to pin them and really get them ripping down the track, the speed is real similar between the two. I couldn't really pin out which one was faster, and I suppose I could use the GPS and test it for sure. But let's be honest, I don't care what the actual number is. If the car goes fast enough to thrill you, the car's fast enough. If it seems to be a little slow, maybe you need to gear yours up to make you happy. These things come off as off the chain, and it just tickles me every time I yank the trigger. And since we're talking about squirrely, let's go ahead and take a look at the tires. Now, the Reaper's got the V-rib chevron design tires. They're a little bit stiff, and you know, the problem with the V-rib design is you pretty much, as this moves along on the ground, you always have about the same contact with the ground. So these have a tendency to get on rocks and roll over them, and it makes it a little less, as far as traction goes, it's a little more squirrely. However, if you take a look at the Xmaxx, and this is a monster here, notice the tread pattern in those. Those can step down into the rocks and get a bit more traction. Not to mention that they're a bit softer, they're a little more supple, and they do grow just a bit more. They're just a sliver taller, and I mean, really, they're so close to the other ones, it's scary, but they are a bit bigger than these ones. And so you get a bit more footing with those, being it's got a little more sidewall in it. It gives a little bit more when you hit rocks and debris. So tire for tire, I think the Xmaxx gets the win on this one as far as tire design for what the car is. Okay, and while we're talking about these with the tires and whatnot, let's refer to the arms for a minute. Now, the design on this one, stand that up for you. These are awesome because these are pretty universal. You know, you can put one arm on any corner of the car, which is nice. And of course, you saw the video. You know we're not nice to these things. When we're testing them, we test them for real. When we go after something, we pin it and see what happens. Now, I'm not out to destroy my cars. I don't want you guys to think I'm just out here seeing how fast I can break stuff. That's not the case at all. What I do try to do is I try to drive it to what it's built for. I put a little extra on it, but I try to drive it so we don't break things. Now, we do look off the chain a lot, and I'm not afraid to actually stuff something if it makes me smile, I'll wreck it. But I won't do it on purpose, but I'm not going to feel all butthurt about it if I trash a car. You know, they do make parts for these things, and you can literally replace every part on the car. So I'm not afraid to go, you know, sit it on the shelf and wait for a part to come in to rebuild it. So, you know, just don't get in your head that I'm out to just destroy my cars. That's far from the truth, because when the videos are done and everything's over, these are still the cars I enjoy playing with. So I'm not out to utterly gut the things. Still, since we're talking about durability on these things, these arms held up really good. The hub carriers in here, I suffered no issues at all with any of that stuff. The drivetrain was good. However, if you did see the video, and I assume you did because you made it this far, you'll notice that when I ran into Zac's car, it broke this little, it's just the ball end here for the tie rod, and it broke it cleanly off. I simply replaced that, put it right back again, right, and it was easy peasy, no problems. But when I was jumping it, I went to a friend of mine's work and I was just showing him the cars, and that's where the jumping video came from. When I was jumping, I landed tail first and it slapped the ground really hard and it literally blew out one of the shocks. Take a look at this. So this is the right front shock. It comes off this corner of the car, and you know, everything looked pretty good overall. You know, it's a nice big shock. It seems to be well built. It does have plastic here, plastic there, plastic here, plastic here, but the barrel on the shock itself is aluminum. Here's the problem. So when you take this thing apart, and that's simply a matter of pulling the spring down, sliding the cap off, remove the spring. Now, when you take a look at this, this looks like a pretty decent shock. However, when you thread this out, like so, I'll show you what the problem is. Here we go. So this piece right here, it just tore it up. And here's the problem. It even split the rubber gasket here that's supposed to pad it when it goes all the way in. Now the problem being, with this collapsed all the way, the chassis portion right here would not hit the ground. It wouldn't bottom out, which means when you bottom the suspension, all the way to the vehicle piles on this one little plastic component. And that component is fairly light and fairly cheap. Problem being, all they needed was an aluminum component here and it would have handled the stress perfectly. But since they went cheap and used the plastic part, and they didn't let the car case when it come to the ground, it put way too much pressure on a simple thin plastic part. And of course, that came apart. It split this, and of course the whole thing failed, dumping oil all over the ground and the car itself, making one hell of a mess. So this is really they missed the mark on this. It's not a terrible thing, but for the way it's used in its application, this is an awful part to put there. Now the funny part is, and see if you can see this on camera, there we go. The funny part is the rear shocks from the Creighton fit it, and they go on it pretty well. It allows good travel. It has the same deal. I did have to upgrade the springs, but now it'll go all the way to the ground, taking the load from the shock when it collapses. Also, this isn't nearly as bouncy as it was with these on it. So these made for a pretty bouncy ride. The actual Arma shocks do the job that they were supposed to do. So I'm disappointed in these. I did order some new ones so I could put the stock ones back on it, and we're gonna see if it does it again. If it does it again, I did order another set of those off of the EXB to put on it all the way around if needs be. Okay guys, so that kind of damage is to be expected. You know, you lose a shock once in a while, a servo saver, a servo burns up. You know, those are consumables. It's like breaking a swing arm. You kind of expect it to happen at some point or another. What did I do though to the car before we took it out? Because this is supposed to run completely stock. Well, I did do 3 things to the car before I took it out. And I told you about this one. I went ahead and vented the tires. So I perforated the outside of the tire in the center rib in 3 spots, and I taped off the inside to prevent imbalance from taking place in the tire as they load up with dirt and debris. On top of that, I added a 3rd strap here. Now this came with 2 straps that go over the battery like this, like so. And the 3rd strap goes over the middle to keep it from shifting forward to back. And I really didn't like the idea that the battery could shift and hit these small plates. It's really not a very good design there, but with the center strap, and they've already got the slots there for the Velcro. You just need to add your own Velcro to make that work. So those 2 parts, that's to be expected. Of course, you know, after the fact, I changed over to the EXB shock absorbers on the front just to get it up and playing again. Also, if you'll notice, I added lanyards to the body. I'm not a fan of losing body mount clips. I think that's terrible. So I went ahead and added these. They're a real nice feature, and I just slightly reinforced the bottom. I used some really heavy black tape. This, I believe, is Gorilla Tape that I used on it, and I put some, this is clear tape on the front, and this is heavy packaging tape. It sticks down good. It's easy to peel off when you're done with it, but it protects the body from the clips. So this little piece right in here was, as the clip rides on there, see the little black bit in there? Okay, that will peel off and you can put another piece on it and your body stays looking relatively good. As far as that goes, that's pretty much all that I did to the car. The rest of it is as it came out of the box. And we had literally no other failures. I was right about this pocket in the back here. It did grab a few sticks, it did hang on to them, but it really didn't affect it much. Back up, it let go of the stick, away I went, no problems. So I was happy about that. The arms held up well. The chassis had no issues. The motor stayed tight. We didn't lose any wheels. All in all, it handled pretty good. But there's one item that I really, I gave it a fair shot. I tried to do as honest a review on it as I could as far as function and everything. And it's this Mod 3S radio. I am not a fan of this thing. One, the wheel is a little bit small. Two, you don't really have any feel on the controls when you're adjusting things. There's no little lights that come on to tell you you're actually making contact, that something's changing in the car. It would be nice to have LEDs on the side that would show you center, so when you move it, you could see it move one way or the other. A dial switch, at least you know roughly where you're at from center. With these buttons, you're just hoping that what you're putting in there is working. Also, a radio like this, in a car like this, doesn't seem to make any sense. Really, something of this kind of power, squirreliness, and capability really should have some sort of gyro, radio in it. This one here, like I say, I gave it the best shot I could. It feels a little weird. The wheel's a little small. The trigger itself is a little close to the handle. It feels like it's made for 12-year-olds and not adults. And the thing is, a car of this nature is pretty much an adult's toy because it's more of a machine than a toy. And one of the cool things about this car was I was really surprised at how long the batteries lasted back here. This ran a good long time on a battery. I'd say 15-20 minutes easily. Like I say, it only weighs 15 pounds, so it really did a great job of getting run time for the batteries that I put in it. Now, on average, I ran, on my single packs, I ran 3,300 milliamp batteries. They were 50C. A single battery there still ran about 15 minutes. And when I doubled up my 3S batteries running 5,000 milliamps at 50C, those did really well as well. I mean, the runtime was all of 20 minutes, if not a little bit more. I really am impressed with the way all the turnbuckles and stuff, they're really big. There is absolutely no bending in any of the drive shafts, any of the turnbuckles, the shocks in the back. They still, watch the car. It doesn't bottom out back there. See how it loads the shock? Take a look right under here. If you can see it, it never touches the table. That means that when you load the car, all the pressure goes right on this shock barrel, which transfers the weight of the car to this. The way this should work, and the way it's working in the front now, is when you load this, and what I mean by that is you hit the ground and you load this, the chassis should hit the ground. And the reason that needs to hit the ground is if the chassis hits the ground, it's not overloading the points of the shock. So it's not putting all the weight on this bolt and this bolt. It's not trying to tear the shock tower apart because all that weight's transferred here. It transfers it directly to the chassis, and that stops anything else from happening within the car. So as that comes down, makes contact, that eliminates any further pressure to the car here, and it's absorbed down in the skid plate where it's supposed to be absorbed. Okay guys, so now it's time to ask our 4 questions. And all 4 of these questions are not going to be rated, and the last question I'm going to keep to just a basic rating. It's not going to actually count for the points. So question 1, is this car fun? Yes. This car's outstanding. It's way fun to play with. It's super fast. It's light. It's nimble. It stunts really well. It cartwheels. It barrel rolls. It hits things, and it just comes back for more. So is it fun? You know, on that, I'm going to give this one 9 out of 10 for fun. Question number 2. Is this car durable? Well, let's see. All of the damage that I tried to throw at this car, even what we did at the barn when we were playing with it over there at my buddy's place, you know, it took everything. I broke no suspension parts. I didn't break anything in the drivetrain. I actually had to run directly into another car to just break the steering linkage, which was a small part that was dirt cheap. So repair on that was easy peasy. However, I did wipe out a shock, and that showed that whole problem to me of the shocks and stuff. Still, with all that said, I'm going to take a point off for the design of the shocks, and we're going to give it 8 out of 10. And question 3, is this thing worth the money? Well, let's see. This thing is about 2/3 the cost of an Xmaxx. It's about the same size. It's just as fast. It's, in my opinion, every bit as durable. It's just a little tougher to drive. And if you want to invest just a little bit in it, say put a radio in it that's got a gyro, change out the tires or something that's got a little softer compound, something a little more aggressive, I think you're going to find that it will be a bit more grounded and it'll be just as fast. So on that, is this thing worth the money? Well, let's see. When I weighed out the Xmaxx, which is similar in durability, similar in size, similar in speed, I gave that one a really good score. However, on this one, worth the money, you know, since you're going to have to change out the shocks as soon as you destroy them, because it's going to happen. They're just designed not to go all the way down. You know, I'm going to have to give this one 7 out of 10. And question 4, well, the one we're not rating, is how does this car stack up to the rest of my collection? And the upside to that is this fits into a lot of what I really enjoy bashing. In other words, when somebody calls me and they say, hey, AJ, come on, dude, let's go over and do some bashing. We're going to go over here. I really don't care how big the area is unless it's tiny. I mean, if it's a nice, decent area of any kind, I'm going to grab the EXB and we're going to go out and have a blast. But you know what's going to be sitting next to it in the truck? That. I will take that, and I may just take the Xmaxx as well. The difference being the batteries I run in my EXB, the 6S, the 3S, the 4S, they will all run in that, and I don't have to take special batteries. With the Xmaxx, you pretty much need to take 2 3s or 2 4s to get 8S or 6S. Yes, you can run it with the other batteries, but you won't reach its peak performance unless you really throw an 8S kit in it. So with this, I can huck it in right with all the rest of my other stuff, take the batteries I normally take, slam a straight single pack 6S battery in it, and go have just as much fun as I would with any of the other cars. So as far as how does this rate, as far as where does it fit in my collection? And you know, I do have a pretty diverse collection, and I've added to it here lately. So I'd have to say, you know, I'm going to put that one in 4th place. And that is rating pretty high. You know, I've got quite a few cars, so top 4, that says a lot. Now keep in mind, I'm not rating it against the pavement cars. In other words, the Limitless and the Felony, those cars do not qualify for that because this is a completely different genre. It would be like rating it against boats or airplanes. It's just not the same thing. The pavement cars are fun in their own right, and they really make me nervous and jittery when I get them up to speed. I have a really good time playing with them, but dirt is where my heart really is, and being number 4 in my playlist is nothing to be shy about. That's outstanding. So hey guys, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. It's a wonderful thing when you do. So until next time, keep bashing, guys.